Tonight, we discover why COVID cases at schools across Florida could be contributing to an undercount of cases statewide. I'm getting answers as Florida families continue to rebound. 1 week after school started, COVID hit home for Amanda Bryce's family when she learned one of her 16-year-old's best friends tested positive for the virus.
We got a call from the school board saying that he was possibly exposed and needed to quarantine.
The next day,
he had a severely sore throat, red and sore. His glands were super swollen, a headache, fever and chills off and on for several days.
But despite his exposure and his symptoms, her son's school district didn't require a test.
They did not require us to be tested at all, just to quarantine.
Turns out when Florida school districts quarantine students or staff for possible exposure to the coronavirus, most don't require those in quarantine be tested, not even if they're symptomatic.
I just was kind of left on my own to decide whether or not he was well enough to go back to school.
The state has yet to publicly disclose the number of school cases of the coronavirus. Of districts self-reporting, hundreds of K-12 students and staff have tested positive since the start of school, with thousands quarantined around the state. In Marion County, since day one, the district has reported 58 positive cases, 287 students and staff quarantined. They can't return for 14 days and must be symptom-free. But testing isn't mandatory.
That is a decision that family makes.
Neighboring Alachua County offers free testing to quarantine students on day 3 and day 9 of their 14-day seclusion.
Why not make that mandatory for those people who have been quarantined?
Well, we're not going to force any parent to have their child tested. That is up to the parent.
And in Martin County, where its schools have reported 24 positive cases with 600 quarantined since day one, the county health department told us in part the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention does not recommend universal testing of all students and staff.
It underestimates the problem and the prevalence of disease.
UF professor Dr. Frederick Southwick is an infectious disease specialist and advocate for rapid tests in schools. He says without testing those quarantined, schools are fueling a statewide undercount of cases.
Therefore, you underestimate the danger of keeping the schools open.
Florida's teachers union, which has an ongoing lawsuit with the state for mandating schools reopen campuses amid the pandemic, agrees.
The governor has said he wants to do less testing, and we've seen that in the numbers. We're seeing less tests occurring. But less testing means you're not getting in front and preventing the spread of COVID.
Amanda Bryce had her son tested. He was positive. A case that would have gone unknown if this mother followed school protocol and not her own instinct.
If you're requiring people to stay home because you think that they've been exposed, then I think that they should be tested before they're allowed to go back in.
Florida's Department of Health recommends all students and staff with symptoms get tested, but adds students can return to school without a test as long as they stay home for the appropriate duration and all symptoms have subsided. Katie LeGrone, WSFL TV.